Yes, guys, welcome back to the Spurs related YouTube channel. Today, I'm filming this on Wednesday morning at about 11:30. In about 8 hours' time, we play Doncaster at home in the Carabao Cup, and I'm very excited for it, actually. I think it's going to be quite a good game. I think we're going to hopefully see some younger players that we don't usually see, which is quite exciting as well. So, should be good. I'm going to tell you the team, my prediction, and what I think is going to happen. And then I want your prediction down below at the end of this video and how you think the game is going to go. As always, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never, ever miss an upload. And if you want to become a member, the link will be in the description where you can pay, I think it's as little as £2 a month to become a member and come on the show with me and James and the guests that we have on. Give your views and come and talk with us. But without further ado, let's get in with it. Let's get into it, I should say. And we already know the first player that's going to start is Anthony Kinski. We were told this yesterday by Thomas Frank in his press conference. It was always going to be the case, I think. Vicario obviously had a bit of a stinker at Brighton the other day, but it was never the sort of game he was probably going to start this anyway. Kinski, that you have backups, for a reason for cup games, and Kinski is perfect for that. So we won't talk about him too much, but that is where we're at with Kinski. As left back, I think Destiny Udogie is going to start. We're a little bit limited for fullbacks with Ben Davies out as well. So yeah, I think Udogie will start. I think they probably will switch it up after 50, 60 minutes as well. Give him a bit of a run around. I thought he was great against Brighton, but he's obviously been out injured for a while. So probably a good fitness builder for him tonight. And yeah, so I'll be surprised if he does not start. Next to him, actually as a left-sided centre-half, I think Kevin Danso will start this evening. Yeah, I mean, again, pretty self-explanatory. These aren't the most groundbreaking of shouts at the moment. Danso is the backup centre-half. He's pretty much the only one we've got right now with Davis, Takai, and Dragusin all out injured. So he will definitely start the game. I would put a lot of money on it if I was a betting man. This is where it gets a little bit tough. You could argue Junai Byfield might start. I don't think he will. I hope he does. It'd be amazing if he does, but I don't think he will. And so I think one of Romero or Van der Ven are going to have to play, and my hunch is it'll be Christian Romero, just because of Van der Ven and his injury record in the past. I know they're not great injury wise, but Van der Ven is probably more of a worry about getting another injury. So Christian Romero, I think, will start tonight. I think they'll switch it up after a little while. I think Byfield will come on if Spurs are sort of comfortable enough in the game, which they should be. Yeah, hopefully we're 2 or 3 up at half time. He comes off at half time. Romero for Junai Byfield, life's great, right? That would be the perfect scenario. And then to make up the back line, I think Jed Spence will start. I think Porro needs a rest. Spence obviously was given a rest the other day against Brighton, played I think 10 minutes or whatever, he played 10, 15 minutes. So I think this is probably the most likely back four I would imagine to start the game, because I don't think he'd use Gray as a defender, because we'll come into Gray shortly. But I think he probably wants to use Gray in midfield. So as we say, Davis, Takai, and Dragusin all out injured. We're a little bit short for players at the moment at the back. So that's the back line. That is where we are at with the back line. Going into the midfield is where, again, it gets a little bit difficult, but not too bad here. I think Pape Sarr will start solely because he didn't play a single minute against Brighton. I think they knew they probably needed to rest one of them ahead of Doncaster, because someone had to play, because we haven't actually got an abundance of players. I would have said Basuma, but he's now out injured as well. So yeah, we're again a little bit short. You don't want Paulinho and Bentancur already playing, and I think Bergvall will start against Wolves on Saturday. So I think for tonight, Pape Sarr should be enough, and should be good enough to dominate at this level. And so yeah, I think Pape Sarr will start alongside this man Archie Gray, who I'd be absolutely staggered if he doesn't start. Came on against Brighton and actually had quite a nice little cameo. Actually, I thought he played well. He started that opening day against Burnley, and since then we haven't seen a lot of him other than that last sort of Brighton 10 minutes. I think he'll start. I think he'll be given pretty much the whole game. I'll be staggered unless he comes off injured, if he doesn't play 90 odd minutes, barring any injury or red card or anything. I'll be staggered, because I think there's a good chance for him to get a good run around, to get minutes in his legs, to give the others a rest. And really and truly, we're talking about a guy who should be, in theory, far superior to the level of what we're playing tonight. So yeah, I would be very surprised if he doesn't start in that double pivot with Pape Sarr. In addition to, moving on from that, I should say, is when it gets a little bit more difficult. Where obviously the only 10 we've really got is Xavi Simons. I don't want him starting tonight. Same with Mohamed Kudus. I think they both need to be left out. So this is when it gets a little bit more difficult. And I've gone Wilson Odobert as the 10 tonight. I think he might try this. I think this is something we saw a little bit under Ange at the back end of last season in the league, but I think this is what we might see tonight. I think Wilson Odobert in the 10, it is certainly feasible. And I think it makes sense given who else I think will play around him. But I'd like to see him in the 10. I think he played in the 10. I think it was one of the pre-season games. I think it was the Wickham game, I want to say, when we drew 2-2. And he was very good in that game. And we haven't really seen him since. So this could be a good one for him to be thrown in as the 10 and show kind of what he's about. Obviously, he played against Brighton the other day and he wasn't amazing. So I'd quite like to see him in the middle and see how he gets on. On the left-hand side, I think Matisse Tell will start the game. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously not part of the Champions League squad. So they're obviously going to try and get him as many minutes in other competitions as possible, I imagine. And this is just an example of that. So I'd be very, very surprised if these two don't start tonight. I'm hoping we kind of see the real potential and talent of these two tonight, because I think they're top players, and I think it's a great stage to show that in terms of that you're playing an opposition that's a few levels below you. And so it's a chance to go, well, do you know what, we can compete to be in the pecking order and high up in the pecking order. And so I think that's what we're hopefully going to see tonight, and that in itself is exciting. Moving on, I think Brennan Johnson will start. Came on against Brighton the other day, and he wasn't very good, to be polite. But I think he'll start tonight. I think he is experienced enough. He knows obviously English football very well, which I do think makes a difference in some of these sort of dogged sort of games at times, which Doncaster I imagine will want to make it tonight. So yeah, I'd be surprised if Brennan Johnson doesn't start tonight. It's the sort of game you've got to give Kudus a rest as well, because he keeps playing 90 minutes, and you don't want to burn him out with obviously the Champions League. You've got Wolves, Bodo Glimt, I want to say, next week, and Leeds after that. So you've got some big games, and they need to keep a squad that's fit and healthy. And so Kudus needs a rest. Joey Simmons needs a rest. I know he didn't start the other day, Simmons, but you need them fit and firing for the real important games, the Premier League and the Champions League. So Johnson tonight. And to finish it off, it's probably the most rogue shout of the lot. I actually think Dane Scarlett will start. Tonight. I think if Dane Scarlett isn't good enough to be starting up front in a game like this with the players that he's got around him, and Tell, Odobert, Johnson, Sarr, if he's not good enough to be starting in a game like this, then I question why he's still here. Right? That's the way I put it. I like Dane Scarlett. I think he's a pretty good player, actually, and I think he could be a really good player for Tottenham. Given that he played in Europe last year and scored in Europe, and he made an impact in that Elfsborg game. He's been scoring goals in the Championship last year. He scored a few for Oxford. Not as many as maybe hoped, but he did get a few. He should be good enough to start this game against Doncaster tonight, and especially with those around him, and put up a pretty decent performance. So I'd like to see Dane Scarlett start. I'd obviously then like to see, as I say, Junai Byfield at some point come on. That'd be amazing. And then maybe also Luca Williams-Barnett. He's obviously been impressing unbelievably for the under-21s at just 16. So I want to see the pair of them play, because I think they're both, certainly Williams-Barnett, very, very, very exciting, and probably ones that get you off your seat. Certainly, as I say, the former. The latter, I should say, sorry. But before I sort of wrap this up, a little prediction from me. I think Tottenham are going to kind of cruise this, to be honest. I think if we score early, it could be a bloodbath, to be brutally honest. Doncaster are decent. I think they beat Middlesbrough to get here, which is impressive in itself. Middlesbrough started really well under Rob Edwards. So yeah, all in all, I'm feeling pretty positive. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it tonight. I imagine the atmosphere will be pretty quiet, but what can you expect from a Carabao Cup Wednesday night game? So I'm going to go with, I think Tottenham will win it 4-0 tonight. I think Tell, Odobert, Dane Scarlett are all going to score, and Kevin Danso as well. He's due a Spurs goal. He's due a first Spurs goal. That is my prediction, and that is that for this video. If you have enjoyed, as I say, please like, subscribe, hit the bell so you never ever miss an upload. As I say, me and James are pushing out as much content as possible at the moment, and whilst the season's going on. So I think we're at 4.4k subscribers now, which is amazing, and the support recently has been, certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Is the best way of putting it. So yeah, thank you all very, very much. If you've enjoyed this, I say like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we will be back for another one, probably reviewing the Doncaster game, hopefully a win tomorrow. As always, come on you Spurs.